Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh, let's get the map out of there. There we go. Hello, wherever you're joining from, welcome, greetings. That was a fun, I actually completely forgot I had changed how the map works. I think I did it right after the show last week and then completely forgot about it this week. So I was surprised, as surprised as you were to see that. That was fun. Always nice to see where people are joining from. So welcome. If you are new here, Thanks for joining. We're going to just chat about live streaming, the ATEM Mini, YoloBoxes, cameras, whatever comes up in the chat. Usually we have a good time. If you have a question for me that you want to make sure I see and it doesn't get lost in the chat, start your message with the letter Q and it goes into a special column here so I can make sure I don't miss it. I try to answer all the questions. It's not always possible. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. Sometimes things just go by so fast here and it's hard to keep track. Yeah, I'm glad you all liked the map. Graham has an excellent question. If we put in full addresses, will the map zoom down to street level? So no, so I made the decision I picked the zoom level that it goes into very intentionally because I felt like if it went too far in, like if you just say Portland, it's gonna, or even just like Oregon, the state, it'll find like the center of that, whatever that place is. So, you know, Oregon's pretty big. It'll put a dot in the center of the state where very few people actually live. So if it zooms in too far, it would look more wrong, I guess. Also, it would look creepy. So the it would look, I was worried that it was going to look too creepy if it zoomed in too much. If you did put in the full address, that's your choice. You can do that. It'll put the pin in the exact right location, but it still will only zoom to that level. I felt like that was an appropriate amount to like get the effect without looking off. Chuck asks, how do I do the map? It is a whole bunch of custom JavaScript code that I wrote quite a while ago at this point. And I did publish the code if you want to look, but it's not like something for that I really expect anybody else to be able to use. It's not a product or anything. It's on my GitHub. I'll just drop the link in the chat in case you are curious and you want to spin it up. You can. Yeah. Wow. 2 years ago. Yeah. This is what it looks like. I have a little bit of instructions of how to get it running. It's a lot of dealing with Google APIs and stuff that's not super fun. Let's just say that. But it is all basically JavaScript that does all that work. Cool. Okay. Oh no, Jules. Any suggestions on fighting COVID? Oh no, sorry to hear. Hope you feel better. What a bummer. No fun. I think the only answer is rest. I think there's not a lot you can do. Hope you get better soon. Oh, I saw some questions that I completely skipped over from last week. Sorry about that. And CJ says, how long will you be at NAB? And can we hang out with you as usual? Yes, absolutely. I am planning on going. I don't have the actual exact dates or timing of when I'm going to be there yet. I am planning on going for probably all the show floor days. I don't think I'm doing anything other than the show floor. I didn't buy the conference pass or whatever. At some point, I will post on the community tab on YouTube. I'll post on Instagram. I'll post on my email list about like an actual meetup day. So like, of course, feel free to find me wherever if I'm wandering around. But we'll try to actually do a meetup again like last time with Joseph. That was a lot of fun. And we'll pick, I don't know if it'll be the same place as last time, but we'll pick a spot and a time to meet there and hang out. So, yeah, absolutely. And of course, if I'm wandering around the show floor, checking things out, feel free to stop by. Shane asks, have you done live streaming on a website not using YouTube? Good question. Yes, I have done that a couple different ways. There's a couple options. There is Owncast is free open source software that you install yourself on some server. So you can install on a VPS. I think you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. I don't think it can transcode well on a Raspberry Pi, but you could do the pass-through mode, and it works fine with the ATEM Mini. I have streamed from that to here. This is its own website, so like this is what it looks like when people are watching the stream. Let's see, I think mine is running. The stream is offline, but this is what the software looks like, although there is a new version coming soon, so this may get a little bit of a facelift. And it's not super customizable, but you could also iframe this into another website if you have like a different website that you want to use for the event. The other way to do it is YoloCast. So YoloLive have a product called YoloCast, which I haven't done like a video on yet, but let me see if if in here I can log into to come on, why is my Touch ID not working? Passwords are hard. It's like my keyboard's not working. Lovely. Hello, keyboard. That's going to make things difficult. Yeah, it just died. Interesting. I wanted to show you YoloCast, but if I don't have a keyboard, it's not going to work very well. There it goes. Okay. And this is essentially like a much easier version of a self-hosted private streaming platform. So it's a service they run, and you can schedule an event and then you can embed it. So you can go from the YoloBox, of course, or from your own RTMP source. Let's see. I have the web presenter. I must have put that stream key in the web presenter at some point. And they actually have a built-in password-based protection. Owncast is entirely public. Like everything is just public. There's no way to add a login to that other than doing it all yourself. But this has the built-in password. Let's see. Let's start this today at 10:15 a.m. and sure. So now it looks like, again, what you'd expect. So you can embed. Oh, I don't have access to it apparently, but you could get access to embed this into another website if you didn't want to use their hosted link. So if I visit this link, this is what somebody would see when they are trying to watch the stream, and then the video will appear. I like the little countdown. It's cute. So this is another option too. If you didn't want to send them a link to YoloLive.com, then you would have to get the embed feature turned on so you could put it inside your own website. So a couple different options for it. And I think Vimeo does too, but I don't have Vimeo. Cool. Okay. Jim says it'd be fun to buy you a drink or at least a coffee or both. Are you going? That's great. Hopefully I will see you there. Absolutely. There must be another keyboard somewhere. Yes, actually there is over on that desk. Hopefully its battery is not dead. Oh, IT never gets old. John has a map coming in H2R graphics, right? Possibly. I think it's unofficial right now. I don't know if he's actually committed officially to doing it, but I have been chatting with him about adding the map to H2R graphics so that people can actually use it without having to spin up my spaghetti code. Stop and Think says, if you use MixEffect with the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro, does that avoid having to construct macros in the ATEM? Macros spook me. Macros are not that scary, but yes, they can be a little bit awkward to use, I will say. And they're sometimes you just have to do it, but they are definitely a little bit more annoying to set up. I have a couple in here that do very specific things that I can't do in Companion or elsewhere. one of the other benefits to macros is that they will run faster. So if you need to set a whole bunch of properties of an upstream key or something, it'll run like all inside one frame rather than with Companion. It might be slightly more delayed. But the editing these macros is a real pain because you have to export the XML and deal with all of that. Companion is a lot nicer to be able to create these kinds of scripts of doing a sequence of events. Let me see if I can grab a, oh geez. I don't know what I just pressed. I have no idea what I hit some key on my keyboard that did that. Keyboard problems today. So in here I have, let's go here, like here is the start of the show. I could have done this as a macro, right? Where it, well, actually I can't because it's doing a few more things, but it is, for example, doing, setting the stinger, it's setting the preview. Oh, something is missing. Oh, okay. That's why it didn't work. Stinger to preview. Is this button 19? I'm going to fix this right now. Yes, okay. That should have worked. I think the map just got stuck. So what this is supposed to do is unmute the microphone. This tells the map to hide. I think that one got delayed. Then it sets the transition to Stinger, which has my animation. And then this will put the camera on preview. And then I really need to move this down because this is set to delay after 100 milliseconds. So it looks like it's in the wrong order, but it actually is fine. So delay after 100 milliseconds, press on page 9, button 19, which runs the Stinger and goes to preview. That basically does the, sets up the Stinger and then does the auto transition. So that's how I start the show, but I need to fix it now because the map didn't clear out properly, so you didn't see the Stinger because it was under the map. But yeah, like this, you can see how much easier this is to manage compared to macros, because if I had to make a change, I have to go export the XML. And this way I can just go in here and be like, oh, actually, I want to start with a different camera today. Right now I can change which camera it's setting on preview. Bunch of other stuff like that. I really like doing, managing the scripts and macro-like things in Companion when possible. As far as MixEffect goes, MixEffect doesn't necessarily take the place of macros or Companion, but it does do a couple of things that you can't do anywhere else, which is like the animated super sources, or, well, I guess you can do those with macros, but that's even more of a pain. But it'll manage the animated super sources, and it does those kinds of things that are way harder to do another way. So that's a great reason to do, to use MixEffect. These days, BitFocus Companion is becoming almost macro-like, especially with version 3. Yeah, there's some cool stuff coming on version 3 also. I installed it accidentally the other day, and then I had to revert because a bunch of the modules are not updated yet for 3. But I'm excited for version 3. I think that's going to be a much easier to manage things going forward. Paul says, Ecamm Live versus StreamYard. What's your recommendation? Something else. Depends on what you're doing. So I think StreamYard is fantastic for completely hands-off, no fuss, just do a live stream and it works, especially if you're doing remote guests. So Ecamm Live also has a remote guest feature, but it takes a little bit more work to set it up and use it. StreamYard is basically, you don't have to really learn much at all. I would feel comfortable, and I have, in fact, given a StreamYard account to someone who has never done live streaming before, and they're able to run their own stream with a remote guest and figure out how to use it. And it's really easy to use. I would not do that with Ecamm. I would not just hand it off to somebody with no prep. So with Ecamm, you can do more stuff and you have more customization options and you can do more graphics and more fancy things. And it is super easy to bring in guests still with Ecamm, but I wouldn't just sort of hand it off to someone who's never touched live streaming before. So that is, that's That's what I would say. So if you don't want to mess with stuff, if you don't want any fuss, StreamYard is great for that. And yes, Restream also does have easy remote guests. They basically copied the StreamYard interface and built that into Restream, and it works very, very similarly. But yeah, if you don't need a remote guest, if you don't need the remote guest feature, then I wouldn't necessarily use StreamYard at all, because you're kind of missing out on its whole purpose if you're using it just for yourself. And then Ecamm is a great option if you want to do it in software. But oh, Drew has a good question. Speaking of Ecamm, I use the ATEM Mini Pro with Ecamm, but when I change cameras on the ATEM, I want the Ecamm green screen feature to turn off because only the main camera has a green screen. Any ideas? Oh, that's tricky. So if Ecamm is using the ATEM as its webcam, you need to turn off the green screen feature in Ecamm. I don't know if you can automate that because Ecamm doesn't know about the ATEM. They don't like talk to each other as far as I know. You know what I would probably do is I would probably actually set up your green screen in the ATEM itself, because then you can you could make it turn off the green screen when you change camera angles using either macros or triggers in Companion and stuff like that. And then Ecamm is just seeing the webcam. Let your nerd be heard says, for Companion, if you don't set relative delay, then all commands run at the same time, and delay is from 0 delay from the previous command, so you may not have needed that action down. Oh, no. Yeah, I didn't move it down because I needed to. I moved it down because I was confused about, I thought it was missing. So if I'm looking at this and I'm trying to troubleshoot and I'm going through like, okay, what's happening here? If like this, for example, is actually not going to run first. This is going to run first, even though this is up here because it's got a delay. So as I'm scrolling through this, I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then I get to the bottom and it's like, oh, why didn't the mic turn on? Oh, because the action's up there. So it's just more about organizing for my own sake about being able to troubleshoot this again later. So I like to have them listed out in the order that things are going to happen, even though it doesn't actually matter, because unless you check relative delays, it kind of just goes boom, everything happens at the same time. If you don't have any delays. So, yep, that's all. Oh, Drew coming in with a super chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. This is a good time to remind people about the monthly giveaway that I am doing this year. I'll drop the link in here to the giveaway details. It is something I'm starting this year. First stream of the month, we will pick 2 people at random to win the giveaway prizes. One person will be chosen from the last, anybody who has sent a super chat in to any of my last streams over the last month. So you know that list of names that scrolls by at the end, that's everybody who is sent in a super chat over the last 30 days. We'll pick a name from that list to win the extreme prize, and then the mini prize will be chosen from anybody who has said anything in chat during that stream. So if you're chatting, then you just say hi or say where you're from or whatever. You'll be entered into that and that's during the first stream of the month. So that will be not next week's, but February 5th. There'll be the next one. So there we go. And thank you for the super chat, of course. Great. Shane and Hannah asked what was the name of the first one. Oh, that was Owncast. So I think Eric chimed in there. So Owncast, let me drop that link into the chat. That was the open source self-hosted streaming platform, and you do need to be able to install software on a server somewhere to be able to use it. David says, is it preferable to record a green screen when it is not during daylight? There's nothing like special about daylight that'll affect it other than just lighting in general. So the thing with the green screen is you need to make sure that your screen itself is well lit. And although some of the green screening is in poor lighting, but ideally it's you get the screen, give it its own light, make it bright green, and then you light yourself as normal. So if you have daylight coming in, that could mess with things. But if you're used to using the daylight as part of your set lighting anyway, then that's no different. So like if I had a window here, I would have a lot of light on this side of my face, and it would also probably be lighting up the green screen a little bit. And I might need to compensate for it by like putting light down on the other side to make the other side of the green screen even. But you just have to get a good even green on the screen for it to work. And you can use daylight for that, for sure. Oh, Koala, thank you for the super chat. Hello from Florida. Appreciate it. Cool. We are already 22 minutes in. Let me check my list of things I want to talk about because there's a lot today. There's a lot. I'll just get to a couple more questions that are coming in. Noel says, recently I bought the Atomos Zato Connect to record a better quality video from the YoloBox program out. Also, it works as a backup to stream for $30. Not bad. Cool. That's a good idea. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the exact model of that one. That one is I think they had that at NAB last year. That is the little monitor with the wireless. Yeah, very cool. Oh my gosh, the whole video is playing on that screen. This is, I think, also part of their. So it can stream to whatever, like RTMP destination, but it's also part of their new whole camera to cloud workflow. Where is? They don't mention on this page. Weird. I thought they had a thing on it. Anyway, hoping to play around with it a little bit more soon, but I don't actually have one of those yet. I just put together a Sonnet Echo Express expansion and paired it with a Blackmagic Decklink Quad HDMI to live stream on Ecamm. Cool, that's a great option too, if you have a computer that can handle that much bandwidth. I keep being tempted to do that, but it ends up adding up pretty fast between the Decklink card and the Thunderbolt case, so I haven't actually done it yet. I don't know if my M1 Mac Mini can handle it, but maybe my new M2 laptop could. Do you think it's possible for the next ATEM Mini to be able to have its HDMI SDI ports show as separate inputs like how the Decklink can? It's a good question. I kind of doubt it. I mean, they could certainly build something like that, but I think that's a pretty different kind of product. So I wouldn't expect to see that feature on the next ATEM. Okay, I'm going to leave the VPS chat alone. Cool. Okay, where was I? Oh, I'm using the M1 Mac when I set up and it worked perfect. Okay, well, that's good to know. That's fantastic. That is very good. Yeah, at some point I keep being tempted to do it, but I haven't had a real good reason other than just being curious. I made a new page on the website, which I wanted to share. Let me drop this link in here really quick. Apps. I realize that I keep getting questions about where do I find the app Shoot or the link for Live App, or what is MixEffect. And I made a page here to collect these. So now I can just drop this link in the chat and put it in all my videos. It has just a little sentence about what these apps are, and these are the ones I usually talk about in the live streams. So this is the iPhone app that I use for when I use my phone as a wireless camera. Live App is for what I use for video playback or drawing on the screen. MixEffect, we talked about a little bit earlier, gives you a lot more control over the ATEM and can do things that even the software control app can't. H2R Gear, it's how I diagram what's going on in the studio and show you how things are connected. Of course, there's the chat overlay Chrome extension. We talked a little bit about Ecamm already. OBS is the way I mainly use it is just to output a web page over the key fill output of the Ultra Studio. So the of course, it can do a ton more, but that's basically all I use it for. And then Video.Ninja, great way to bring in guests into your ATEM workflows if you're not streaming from something that has a built-in guest feature. So hopefully this page is helpful to people, and now it's going to be in the link in the description of all of my videos. MeteorX, thank you for the super chat. I hope to make it to NAB this year. Depends if I can get time away from the day job at the university. Awesome. Well, I hope to see you there. That would be super fun. That would be great. Yeah, so the apps, and then also want to mention again, the photo contest that is going on. So let me drop this link into the chat. Photo contest is going to be a lot of fun. Running it for a month. This is the idea is to share photos of your ATEM Mini or YoloBox rigs with the stands, the PK1 stands. Share them on Instagram, share them on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want, or just a link that I can see the photo on. And I want to share those photos with everybody on Instagram also. So there's the best looking photo after we get submissions will win the prize. The prize is still a secret, but hopefully next week I can show you some pictures. But it is an accessory. It's an add-on for the stands, for both ATEM stands. So I'm really excited about that new accessory. And we actually are able, we're going to be doing 3 winners actually. So there'll be a grand prize and then 2 second prize winners. Hopefully next week I'll have pictures to show you of what it will be, but it is very exciting. Don't have any pictures yet. So there's instructions on that link I just dropped in the chat for how to enter. Basically, the main thing to do is to take a picture of your setup with a stand and a YoloBox or an ATEM Mini or both, and then share a link to that post somewhere, wherever you can post it. Doesn't have to be on Instagram. And yeah, all the details you will find there. Everybody hit the like button. Thank you for the reminder. Excellent. Okay, let's take some more questions. They're coming in. Oh, look at this. Next week, pictures will be ready. Excellent. Yes, I'm very excited. Jewel says, what is your take on the upgrade to the M2 14-inch if you already have the M1 14? Is it worth the extra $700, basically using it for video editing? So I went from the base model Air, the M1 Air, which I had 8 gigs of RAM and 256 SSD. And I did upgrade to the M2 Air. I don't have the Pro of either. That and one of the main reasons I upgraded wasn't just for the processor, but also because then I got it with a terabyte hard drive and 16 gigs of RAM. And that was more important to me than the processor boost, just because I have been hitting, I've been running real low on storage, and now I have enough that I can actually put videos onto the computer itself and not have to edit off external drives. I don't know if I would upgrade if you already have the M1 14-inch to the M2 14-inch and keep the rest of the specs the same. It doesn't. I personally would not do that. I don't think it is going to be enough different for anything that you're doing, unless you're doing like, if you're regularly doing 4K multicam with a bunch of color grading and stuff like that, then yeah, your renders will go faster. But I don't think it's going to be enough different. That's my personal opinion. I obviously have not tried the M2 14-inch Pro though, so I could be completely wrong. Keith says, thanks for the code work on the chat plugin. Any more cool code plugins? Not right now. Hopefully, I'm not planning on making the map thing into a plugin myself, but hopefully John will get it into H2R graphics. I've chatted with him a little bit about setting up and how to do the finding the location names and stuff. So we'll see. Lots of discussion about Owncast happening in the chat. Yeah. Start out small. Owncast is free, but you can see how it goes. It's true. It's not a huge risk to start. One thing I will mention is the speed of the server that you get will only matter if you are doing transcoding. So Owncast has, I think by default, it will transcode the stream. So it'll, whatever comes in, it'll like reprocess at a certain bit rate that you set. So if you send it like a 720 video at a low bit rate, it'll actually like upscale it to 1080p, or the other way around. You can send it something bigger that it'll transcode. If you send it the wrong bit rate, it'll fix it. You can also turn that off. So you can make it put into what they call pass-through mode, where it doesn't do any processing of the video. It just takes whatever bits are sent and it sends it back out to all the viewers. And I've actually run it that way before, because I haven't had any problem with people being able to watch the stream that the ATEM Mini creates. That's not going to be true for every encoder, of course. So the benefit of turning off the transcoding is that it basically means that the computer needs almost no resources. It does not need a fast processor. It needs a lot of bandwidth capability, which might be a limit of the hosting provider that you're using. But it doesn't do any transcoding, so you can run it on really low powered hardware, because it's just pushing bits around. Yeah. Sam says PeerTube also has live streaming built in. Yeah, it's a great point. I've never actually used that one, but it does have. PeerTube also is more about hosting recorded videos, and it also has live streaming, whereas Owncast is only for live streaming. There's no playback of recorded videos at all. Live streaming and chat. It has a chat feature built in too. Cool. Mate says, can I make an instant replay with the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO? Not from the same angle. Not really. There is no way, there's no built-in way to play back videos on the ATEM Mini Extreme. So you would, regardless of what kind of replay you want, you're going to always have to do it on an external device. So you'll have to send something to an external device and then feed that back into the ATEM Mini. So it could be like a hyperdeck. I have done a demo of that. It's not great, but it does work. There are other apps that you can use also. If you have the Extreme, one of the benefits of the Extreme is that there's two HDMIs out. So if you're using one to look at your multi-view, you can use the other for something else. And if you're streaming from the ATEM, then you don't need that output to go into another encoder. So you could, for example, if you take your output and you take, let's say you've got, this output is this is a big ATEM. Let me go to a smaller ATEM. Did I remember that right? Yeah. Here's an ATEM Mini Extreme. There are two outputs. Output one is the multi-view. That's how I usually do it. Output two is going to something else, right? Like you could feed that to your replay device, which means you could actually feed it, instead of the program output, you could feed it a specific camera. So if you know you always want to use your overhead camera as the for replays, you could feed that out of output 2 and then record it in that separate device, feed that back into one of the inputs. So that's the trick, is just that there's nothing built into the ATEM that's going to help you do that. You're always going to have to do your replay from some other external recorder. And as far as I can tell, there's no cheap version of that either. Ratchet Up Your Art says, it's a ATEM Mini or Extreme ISO on, off. Do you keep them on all the time? I've left my ATEM Mini and Extreme on 24/7 for years now. I do not turn them on and off, and they're fine. There's one back there, although that's the new SDI, so it's newer, but the one I have at home has been on for like 2 years now, basically, unless there's a power outage. And I've only had to reboot it once. Something got hung up on it at some point. I can't remember why. But it's fine. They're meant for that. That's why there's no power switch. Oh, very good point. IT never gets old. The YoloBox Pro instant replay is pretty slick and easy. Yeah, so the YoloBox Pro does have a replay feature built in now, but it will replay what's on the program. So whatever was showing on the program, it can go and rewind and do instant replay. It won't do it. It doesn't let you do it from like a different angle that wasn't active. But at least it's built in, and it just works, which is very nice, because it requires quite a lot of hardware to do it otherwise. So. Graham says, I leave mine on all the time. Work one was last rebooted when recording froze up. Home one when I wanted to turn off the very bright buttons. You can dim the buttons, though. That's new. They added that a couple firmware updates ago. So you can at least dim the buttons, which is really nice. But yeah, sometimes you need to reboot them, but in my experience, it's been extremely rare. I've actually had to reboot the web presenter quite often. I've had to reboot the ATEM Constellation HD, the rack mount ones, way more often than I've ever had to reboot an ATEM Mini. The ATEM Minis seem to be way more reliable for that, which is bizarre to me. It does not make sense. Eddie says, is there any trade-in program to replace the ATEM Mini Extreme to an SDI version? I think it's called eBay. No, I don't think they don't have any like trade-in program themselves, but you probably can find somebody who would want to buy it. Only downside is that they dropped the prices of the HDMI. So if you bought it before that, you bought it at the old price. So, oh well. David says, I got the GH6 and the Sirui anamorphic lens. How do I set the YoloBox to display the scale without cropping? What's a special sauce to get the cinematic picture? I don't think you can do it on the YoloBox. There is a trick to doing it on the ATEM, but not YoloBox doesn't have that ability. So on the ATEM, what you can do, I should do this with mine, not Lily's. Let's do this. This is a big one, but it'll work on any of them. Basically what you do is you use an upstream key. Let's see, am I using this one? No. So the trick with the anamorphic is that the lens makes the picture look like stretched out, so you have to squish it. There isn't really any tools for squishing any of the inputs, except there is the upstream key. So let's see, if I turn this on, where is this going to show up? Why is there nothing showing on the Apple TV? Let's take, oh, there it is. I don't have an anamorphic lens handy, unfortunately. So let's just pretend this is anamorphic. We're going to scale it down and then position it. Let's go back to the middle. Let's see where this is. Why is it cropped? Let's not crop it. And okay, so it's doing a slideshow. Let's do a little border so you can see it. This is, pretend this has an anamorphic picture that looks stretched out. So you can squish it back down by doing, where is it? By doing size. So if you unlink the X and the Y, you can squish. So you can squish the picture in the with the ATEM upstream key. Now the border is squished too, so you wouldn't want that, of course. And that will make it look right when you feed it an anamorphic signal. But YoloBox does not have that. Can't you de-squeeze in the camera? Some cameras do that. I don't know if the GH6 does. I would imagine it does. I don't think the GH5 does. This one is the GH5S. I can't remember now. But we can check. Let's see. Somewhere in here will be, oh, anamorphic de-squeeze. There it is. It's right there. And there it is. So if I had an anamorphic lens on it, that would be doing it. Let's see, that's probably on the display. Is it doing it on the HDMI out though? Cool. I've never done this on my camera at all. I have not done this before, but it looks like, yeah, you can probably do it in the camera because the GH5 is meant for that. Cool. And he says, I'm suffering with the HDMI version in my fly kit. I know HDMI is great when all your stuff is HDMI, but as soon as you start putting it into racks and hooking up other things that are all SDI, it can get really frustrating having that many converters. Oh, here's a good point from IT Never Gets Old. One option for the instant replay might be to use your ATEM with a YoloBox Pro. Send one of the outputs. Yeah, so we were talking about using that second HDMI out. You could use the YoloBox as your instant replay device. Because if you feed it the output from the ATEM, then whatever you send out that output to, the YoloBox will see. And then feed that HDMI out of the YoloBox back into the ATEM. And you can use that as your little replay device, that would totally work. Nils says no on the GH6. It's apparently only possible in recordings, but not on the HDMI out. Okay, bummer. And he says, what I do for instant replay is ATEM plus OBS with some plugins. That makes sense. Yeah, that would totally work too. But yeah, so basically for instant replays, you're always going to have to do them on something that is not the ATEM itself, some other device. Paul Kelly says, Ecamm live versus YOLO live. Thoughts, recommendations? Yeah, I do need more context because it totally depends. I think for me, the major advantage for Ecamm is the guest feature being built in, and they have some good graphics stuff too, but there's a lot of other context there. Like, do you need it to be portable? Do you need it to run on battery? Do you have a computer that you trust enough to run Ecamm? I'm a piano teacher. Want simple live stream solution debating software versus tactile. Okay. So that means I'm assuming you're going to like set up a stationary thing that's like always at home or in the studio. And you're not going to be moving it around a bunch. So that also means we're probably just streaming yourself. Do I have Ecamm installed on this? I think my subscription is up because I only had it for like a year. Oh, nope, it quit. Okay. I don't know what, apparently I can't launch Ecamm right now. Speaking of reasons I don't always want to do, oh yeah, lovely. It just crashed when I tried to open it. So, failed with resource shortage. Okay. This computer is not powerful enough, apparently. If you have a better computer, it might work better. So that's my first question. Do you have a better computer than my base model M1 Mac Mini? which I have definitely run it on here before, so I don't know what's going on. But if not, then that's a great reason to go with some other kind of hardware. The YoloBox is a good option if you don't mind that it is a touchscreen device, which is good and bad. It's nice that it's there's no other things you have to worry about to control it, but it also means that you have to touch it. So there's no option for like what I'm doing with this, which is on my desk, there's the Stream Deck, and this is how I'm controlling the show. So I can change different angles by pressing the buttons here. And I don't have to touch the ATEM, which is in that rack, or the ATEM Mini would be on the desk, right? So I think that's something to consider, is how do you want to be able to control your stream? Do you need anybody else to be able to control it also? Because the learning curve of the YoloBox is pretty low, I would say, because it's basically just like, you see a picture, you can tap on it, and it cuts to it. That's nice and simple, but that's another thing to consider too. Yeah, I would definitely go look up videos, other people's videos, not mine. I don't think I have any. I have a couple of live streams demoing it, but go look up videos about Ecamm Live to get a sense of what it's like to use it. And I think it depends on your own comfort level of how much you like interacting with apps on the computer versus physical devices. IT Never Gets Old says, dedicated streaming devices seem to be more reliable than software running on general purpose computers. I tend to agree with that, and that's why I try to push all of my stuff into physical devices. The YoloBox is the closest thing I have to a general purpose computer because it is an Android device running Android, but it is running a special purpose app that they've written, and you can't do anything else with it. So they've tightened up a lot of the things that make a general purpose computer kind of risky for doing that. So, yeah. Oh, good question from Spencer. Looking for a good top-down camera to use for to show what I'm working on. Any recommendations? Not wanting to spend thousands. You definitely don't need to spend thousands for sure. One thing about so actually, you know what is probably a good one is the Sony a6400, which is what I was using for my top-down for quite a long time. You can probably get one used for less than $1,000. Looks like they are, let's see, here is a new one, B&H 900. So I'm sure you could find one for less than that, although you have to buy a lens too. It's not a new camera. It's a couple of years old, but it's still great. And the autofocus is definitely good enough for an overhead camera. The Lumix, now I keep forgetting. The Lumix, the replacement for the G7, I think it's the G100. Yeah. This would be another one that you could do, but the autofocus on the Lumix ones are definitely not as good as Sony autofocus. The benefit of the Lumix is the price. Here's the Amazon link, $600, and it includes the kit lens. This is an okay lens. At some point, you'd probably want to upgrade the lens, but it's fine for starters. And it's $600, which is a good price, and that's new. So you can probably find a better deal than that too. This one's $550. That's, what is that? Oh, maybe it's because it doesn't have the tripod. Yeah, great. Good price. Autofocus is not as good. So if you don't need autofocus, then that's a great option. Just, you know, set your focus manually because you're showing the desk. You want to be focused on the bottom. But if you plan on doing things like holding up something and expecting it to autofocus, go with the Sony instead. ZV-E10, another great option. That's like the new version of the a6400. I think it's the same sensor is what they said. ZV-E10 is another great option. Definitely less expensive too. So, oh, good questions coming in now. With the computer interface, could you put your ATEM Extreme in the data closet if it was on the network with your NAS and other gear? Totally. So for a while, I was actually, yeah, all of my ATEM stuff is in that back rack, including the little ATEM Mini up there. And even at the home studio, the ATEM is not within arm's reach when Lily is using it. So she interacts with it only from the Stream Deck on the desk. And the trick will be the length of the cable to get it to your computer if you're using the USB, because the USB cable length will be limited. But if you don't need it, the USB interface for it, or if your computer is also in that rack, then yeah, great, tuck it away and don't worry about it. What if you dedicate a computer solely for handling the stream, no email, web browsing, etc.? Definitely a good idea to do that if you plan on using a computer for running the stream. I would definitely recommend not treating it like a general purpose computer. But even then, that only solves some of the problems. Definitely not running Chrome is helpful, because Chrome eats up a lot of memory, but still. Any suggestion for an HDMI splitter to use with the ATEM to take the input into an ATEM and out to a monitor that isn't cheap plastic? I have had reasonably good luck with even the cheap HDMI splitters, even the unpowered ones. I don't think any of the ones that I've bought exist on their product links anymore. Like, if I just go look at my Amazon history, I'm pretty sure they're all dead products now, because they were just really cheap stuff. But they were fine. Yeah, now the HDMI splitter that I bought is a headphone. That is definitely not what it was when I bought it. This brand, Ore, I have a couple of their stuff too, and they're fine. So that's another one you can look up. But honestly, like, I haven't really had any trouble with the cheap ones. So. Could you switch your stream with some reserved MIDI notes while also playing music on your keyboard? Yeah, do it. That sounds like fun. That sounds fun. How long have you had those Ore splitters? We need to upgrade the cheapos we've been using. Oh no, you had to unplug one. That's weird. I've had mine for a couple of years, but I don't think any of mine are currently on right now in this setup. But I was using a ton when I was doing in the fly kit for doing the conference recording stuff. The problem I find with general purpose computers is that you have issues with operating system updates, software updates, and lots of stuff running in the background. Totally, absolutely. Yeah. One of the actually most frustrating things, I had a computer. It was a really small, I think it was an Intel NUC, but I had it for the flight case that I use for streaming conferences, and it was like, okay, I need to be able to show, pull up a web page to show the schedule for the conference on the projector or on the stream or whatever. And what I found was every time, because I was only ever using it for events, which meant I only used it like once or twice a month, and every time I turn it on, it would go update Windows. And then it became useless for like 30 minutes while it was doing that. And I was like, this is bad. This is bad. Digital Creations got here late. Well, welcome. It's never too late. Okay. Coming up on the top of the hour, but we're going to go for another 30 minutes before we go see what Lily's up to and check if she needs any new Stream Deck buttons. But if we don't hear anything, then it means everything's good with her show. And what is she talking about today? Let's check it out. Oh, right. Ask me your money questions. So if you have any questions about money, budgeting, economics, great place to ask. So we'll head over there in about a half hour. Speaking of YouTube, I think I didn't mention this last week, but House Files is the podcast. We're doing it as a podcast format. This is a new channel where Lily and I talk about building a house. And I'll drop this link in the chat. We are building 3 houses, in fact. And you should go take a look. Take a listen to the episodes. We've got a couple episodes out now and more on the way. If you want to know about the project, go watch the intro video. It's only 7 minutes long. And then we started doing a podcast format of varying lengths, anywhere from 45 to 30 to 45 minutes. And yeah, try to publish these on Fridays. So progress is being made. There's a lot of exciting progress happening. I've got pictures from the drone of the construction progress to share in these videos. And at some point, very soon, we'll be starting to talk about all of the networking and wiring that we're going to be doing in the house, which I'm very excited about. One of the rooms in that will be Lily's studio for her office, but also for live streams. And I'm going to do a fiber connection between there and this room, which are separate buildings, but close together. And then with that fiber connection, it'll be a way to be able to like pipe her studio into this studio or vice versa. And it'll be fun. Might as well do that while all the walls are open. So yeah, follow along, subscribe there, give it a listen, follow along, and it's, yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you, Eric. The triplexing worth every minute you spend watching it. Graham says, when you were using mini converters, did you ever load LUTs into them to change color balance from your cameras? I'm trying to match a PTZ with poor color to the ATEM Mini Extreme. I never actually ended up doing that because I instead switched over to entirely SDI cameras, so I don't have to run converters anymore. But I thought about it. I did think about it at some point. Yeah, I think it's a great option. It's a neat little secret feature of those converters, the Blackmagic converters. Eric says, even pro vMix users will have a Windows update occur during a paying live gig. It happens. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, people are trying to post links. I don't think you can. But I do, yes. You can find me on John's Here to Record Discord. That's where I usually hang out. I don't have my own Discord yet. Probably not going to do that. But I do hang out on John's a lot. So feel free to join there. And I don't think I have a link to it in my video, but you can go to any of John's videos and find the link there. So I'll just drop his channel in there. My EV adventures, if I take an SDI output from an SDI Extreme into a Blackmagic bidirectional converter, can I take the HDMI out to a monitor and the SDI output to another device? Yeah, so the bidirectional converters work in 3 different modes. So it's currently auto detecting, but hopefully you have a setting for it soon. But if you have one input in and you don't have anything coming in, like if you have only SDI in and you're not feeding an HDMI, then both outputs are the same copy of the input. So you can run SDI in and get SDI out and HDMI out. Similarly, if you run HDMI in but no SDI, the HDMI goes out both. If you plug 2 things in, then it goes into the cross mode where the HDMI is the SDI, HDMI out's SDI in. So yeah, totally. You can do that. You can use that to, that's actually how I'm doing my computer screen. So my computer screen is plugged in. The Mac is back there, and then I've got a bidirectional converter in the rack. The HDMI from the Mac goes into that converter. That converter goes SDI to the ATEM. You can see it's input 5 or whatever. And then the HDMI goes to the screen in front of me. And that's so I get a no latency version of the screen. If I look at it from if I run SDI out from a monitor, like if I can make this monitor my computer screen if I want to, right? So if I look at this when I'm using my computer, it's actually slightly delayed, and it's just delayed enough to be super distracting and really hard to use. So that's why now I need to go back to the multi-view so I can see what's going on. That's why I have a HDMI going straight to this monitor. And then this is kind of a long distance. So what I did was I have it on a fiber HDMI cable, and that's been working great. That's one of the ones that I got sent a couple of weeks ago and months ago now. Let me see if I have a link to it. It has been working. This is the one. It supports way more bandwidth than I need, but there, that link is in the chat. That's what's now powering this monitor, and it's great. Works great. Cool. Speaking of John's Here to Record Discord, he also started doing consulting again, one-on-one consulting. So you should be able to find his links to that in his description. Is it? Yes, there it is. Need help with your next streamer setup? Go to heretorecord.com/consulting. I don't have the bandwidth right now to do this myself. So instead, if you do have any questions that you want one-on-one support on, please go visit him instead. He has time on his calendar available. Ratchet Uppy Art says, love your monitor setup. Where'd you get the monitor mounts? Oh yeah, this is great. These are on the little arm. This is in the middle, so there's two arms that go there, and then you can actually see I've got a couple more of these arms in doing different things. This one is actually the overhead camera is attached to a 3-segment version of that same arm. This one's not doing anything yet. I'm probably just going to get rid of it. But then I've got other things clamped to this pole, like the iPad mount. This is the camera. So this is there's a tripod ball head back there clamped to this pole. That one's also, this monitor is also, oh, that's on the other half of this. That's right. So you can see the white arm. I will try to grab a link to that in what is that one called? Do I have a link? It is called WALI is the product line. Yeah, okay. So they have a couple different versions of it. And they have black and white version, and I just got the white version, which is fun. Here's the link to the single version. But basically what it is you can get it in different configurations. So they have like the pole that goes on the desk with like 1 2-segment arm, and then you can buy the arms separately. So I've bought a couple of different versions of these now to rig up these weird contraptions. So they have like a dual arm or like a single arm, and then they have 2-segment or 3-segment, depending on how far you need to go out and how much weight you need to support. And you can kind of just rig it all up together. Oh no, it's doing that thing again. It's jittering. I think it's a glitch in the ATEM somehow. That's super annoying. It's only doing it on the computer screen, right? It's not doing it on my video. And it only does it in the super source, if I remember correctly. If I show you this, is it glitching? Nope. It's only in the super source. Yeah, it's a super source bug. Hopefully they fix that. Yeah, it's a great little mounting kit. What's in the big white can on your desk? That is my coffee for the morning. Jitter is super source only. Yeah, that's annoying. Well, hopefully they fix it. I think I already reported that to Blackmagic actually. Did I do that? let's see. I got, wow, it's really hard to search my email for Blackmagic. Blackmagic support. Yes, I did. I did email them in December, and they said it's a known issue, and they're working on it, but they don't have any ETA. And then they said they've watched a lot of my videos. That was hilarious. We'll just cross our fingers that they get that fixed soon. Very weird. Sean says, hi from San Mateo, California. Would love to see you on the office hours panel. Always look forward to your Sunday stream. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on the office hours panel. Been a while since I've chatted with them. It's not at a great time for me, but it's and it's a huge time commitment. So been a while since I've chatted with them. Graham says, I have something like that on my desk, but it has a bottle of malt whiskey in it. Well, that's for later in the day. If I ever start doing live streams at night, then we will change the contents of this bottle. IT never gets old, says fiber. HDMI cables are really great. I've used 100-foot ones with no problems. Good, good. Yeah. This one's way longer than it needs to be because I'm only going like 20 feet, but there's a big spool of it underneath the table there. Have you noticed the glitch on your lower thirds? There's a line across the screen that flickers occasionally. I've noticed it over the past few weeks. I think it's a Genlock issue. Wait, do you mean my chat? Or something else? I think that's the only lower thirds. A line across the screen that flickers occasionally. No, I haven't noticed it. What kind of flicker is it? Yes, the chat. I'll have to go back and look at it. I haven't noticed. The way that works is that is coming out of OBS, so it could be, I need to figure out if it's if the glitch is showing up in OBS or if it's a problem of OBS outputting to the Ultra Studio, which is how that gets into the ATEM. There's a faded black line across the bottom. I wonder if it's, so one of the problems with the multi-view, let's see, does my multi-view button still work? Where is my multi-view button? Where did it go? Oh, there it is. One of the problems with the multi-view is, see how there's this gray line around each source? It actually covers up some of the video. The video is like this box in the top right corner that I'm in is exactly half of 1920 by 1080. And that means since there's this gray border, it's actually covering up some of the edge of the video. So I actually can't see what's on the very, very edge of the screen, which is a little bit, has definitely bitten me a couple times. Doing things like, sometimes I leave like a microphone poking down because I try to get the microphone just out of the frame. And then if I can't see anymore, like I can't see my fingertip anymore, right, in the multi-view. But if you look at the, see if I can hold still. If you look at the full version, now you see my fingertip, but you didn't see it in the multi-view because the gray covers it up. Anyway, that may not be what's happening, but I didn't notice until he said something. Okay, I don't see it. It's really hard to see, but the image just jumps slightly whenever you have chat on the screen. What jumps? Now I'm looking at the web presenter output. It's in the middle of the chat. It's more noticeable in 2-line comments. That's so weird. I don't see it. I'm gonna have to go replay this. I wonder if it's a YouTube artifact. Oh, that could be too. It could be a compression artifact because I'm not looking at the compressed feed. When I'm looking at the Ultra Studio up there or the web presenter output, I'm seeing the web presenter, you know, before it's output to YouTube, but then it's doing the encoding and sending stuff to YouTube, and that's what you're seeing. Maybe it's a compression issue. In which case, it could be the either the web presenter's fault or it's YouTube's transcoding. What's weird is the top right box of the multi-view is missing the gray line. No, it's just thinner because there's only one of them. So in the, it's probably not going to show up very well here for you. Wait a second. I see what you mean. What is happening? So I see on my screen here, I see a gray line there on the top right and down here, but up on the web presenter, I don't. I see what you mean. It looks like it's missing. Oh, of course, because I have done a trick, which is how I avoid the tunnel vision effect when I'm showing you my multi-view, which is I've slapped the camera on top of the program output. Otherwise, you would get tunnel vision. Watch this. If I turn off, where is it? I turn this off. Yeah. Now you can see the gray line. So what I've done is I've taken upstream key 2 and I've got it as my upstream key 2 on ME2. It's my camera and I can bring that on and I position it there. And if I scoot it over, you'll see what I mean. It's just covering up that top corner. That way you don't get the tunnel vision and I can show you the multi-view. Neat little trick. But it does mean it covers up the gray line because technically what I should do is crop just to that gray line. Where is it? That's too much. It should be like that and same on the top. Just to there. And now that looks more accurate. Neat little trick. And then I just had to program in a button on my, when I switch cameras, it has to remove upstream key 2. So when I switch back to this, oh, right, no, it doesn't turn it off because I have 2 MEs. I forgot I am using 2 MEs for that. So ME2 up here has that upstream key on all the time. And the let's see if I tab out. Yeah. So ME2 is showing you the multi-view with upstream key, and you just can't see ME2 right now because it's not on. But when I switch from here, if I switch over to this, you see that again. So it's a great way to like save a layout without. What I used to have to do was write macros or companion scripts to like reconfigure everything all the time, but now it's just always there. And that's one of the cool things you get with the 2 MEs. You can like create a layout over there, just keep it ready, and then you can cut to it like an angle. So that's always there to cut to. ME3 and 4 I'm not using for anything right now, so I have no idea what they're just on a camera. Yeah, but that is how I've started to actually take advantage of how much stuff this thing can do. Cool little trick. Otherwise, I would have had to cut back to the main camera and turn off the upstream key if I was doing this on the ATEM Mini Extreme, for example. Great tunnel vision hack. Thank you for no tunnel vision. We had forgotten the hack. Yep. Eric says I watch YouTube on the PS4 version of YouTube. Didn't see it on the big TV screen. Interesting. Interesting. Now you have me debating on just using vMix on my PC or getting a Blackmagic switcher. Yeah, I mean, totally different ways of working, and you will probably prefer one over the other quite a lot. So the question is just figuring out what you're going to be more happy with. Do you find your bigger and newer ATEMs to be more glitchy than the ATEM Minis? So far, yes. So far, I have had more bugs in the Constellation 2ME and 4ME compared to the ATEM Minis. The ATEM Minis were very, very, very solid, and I had very few problems with them. The most common problem I had with the ATEM Mini is that after they're powered on for a long time, by long time I mean like weeks, sometimes the USB output gets clogged and you have to reboot it. I think that was the only reason I ever had to reboot the ATEM Mini. And now I don't actually use the USB output enough to know if it's still happening. It's still a problem. But the Constellation, I've had a couple of issues. I have had it lock up completely once, which is really, really frustrating. And then this SuperSource glitch. I've never seen it before. It doesn't seem like it should be possible, but yeah, no good. I am sure they will sort it out. I think they just need some time to fix the firmware. I don't think it's a compression issue as it only happens on the chat. I think there's a rogue frame rate somewhere, or the key and fill aren't in sync. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't see, is it happening on this message right now? Because I don't see anything wrong here. Yeah. Spencer says, I've used Blackmagic switchers and TriCasters. Maybe I should get a TriCaster and call it done. Yeah, I don't know. What to do to play scrolling text? Great free option is H2R graphics. The H2R graphics, let me drop this link. H2R graphics has a lot of different graphics capabilities, one of which is scrolling text, tickers. And if it's longer, it will start scrolling. I'm barely using it, but it is how I show this message on the bottom of the screen. Let's see if I can open it up. This is what the control looks like. So if you have, oh, I should put this on the, I should really, oh, that's not positioned right. Do I have any scrolling tickers? I don't have any scrolling tickers. Let's see, edit. What can we do here? Speed. Ticker item. That's just a ticker title. So yeah, here we go. Close. Now what does it do? There we go. Oh, it's cut off. It's probably fixed in an update. I think I'm running a slightly older version. But yeah, good stuff. Lots of good stuff you can do in H2R graphics. I only see it in long messages that have more than one line. I'm so confused about this. We'll have to figure it out. There we go. It's for literally one frame at a time. I'll see if I can take a screenshot. Okay, post it in John's H2R Discord. Let me know. Got to figure out what's going on. What do you use for super sources? H2R layout, MixEffect Pro, or macros? If I need to quickly create a super source, I do usually use MixEffect for that because it's just a lot easier to it's got a bunch of good presets, but you can also just drag things around on the screen. H2R layouts is good too. H2R layouts, where is that? Layouts.heaterrecord.com. So this is also good because you can create these, drag them around, figure out what size you want, all that, and then you can download this as a macro, which will set the properties. So it's a little bit more work because MixEffect, you can save it in the app, and then you can always restore that super source layout from the app. But they both work great. Just depends on what I'm doing. do I use Mac Mini or Mac Mini M1 for the computers? This computer that I'm on right now is the base model M1 Mac Mini, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 SSD. I don't think I'm ever going to buy 256 gigabyte drive again. I think that was a mistake. I should have gone for at least 512. Otherwise, it's been fine. But now my new laptop that I use for editing and everything is the M2 MacBook Air with 16 gigs of RAM and a terabyte drive. Penda Agency says, what would you advise, streaming directly from the ATEM or using OBS? I would, if you have an ATEM Mini Pro or Extreme, I would stream from that. And the reason is because I don't want my computer to be involved in generating the final video it's going to YouTube or wherever. So I would definitely stream from the ATEM. Of course, the advantage of OBS is that it can do more fancy stuff with processing and graphics and stuff, but I like pushing it all into the hardware to make the computer not be part of the flow. What do you prefer in the super source, animations or stingers? Animations or stingers? I'm not sure what you mean. I don't usually use the animated super source. It is cool, but I usually don't use it unless I have I've done it a couple times with like remote guests on the stream, but like I'll just cut between this and the camera, and instead of treating it like a zooming in or whatever, which is it's cute, but I think it can be a little bit much. I don't have Discord. I've taken a screenshot and uploaded it to Google Drive. Is there somewhere I can send it? Yeah, you probably can't post a link here. Email to me. You can just email it to me, then we'll take a look at it later. Almost out of time today. You can find my email. It's on YouTube or it's on my contact page. And hopefully we will figure out what is going on, because that's no good. What are your thoughts on the 8 gig Mac Mini M1? My brain is still old school, expecting 16 gig to be the norm. I felt more constrained by the hard drive size compared to the 8 gigs, but I did go with 16 gigs on the new one I bought. But prior to that, I was editing all my videos on the M1 Air with 8 gigs of RAM in Resolve, and it was fine. I don't do terribly complicated videos. I'm not doing like tons of color grading or tons of effects or anything, but it was fine. But I probably would go, and I did go with 16 gigs just to make it a little bit more future-proof. On that last statement with OBS, what if all the recording goes all to external hard drive from the Mini and use OBS for the fancy stuff? Is there a way you can separate that? Kind of, somewhat, yes. And that's actually one example is what I'm doing right now, where OBS is how this chat message is getting into the stream. So OBS actually outputs into one of the inputs on my ATEM. And I was doing that with the ATEM Mini Extreme also. But so what I can do with OBS is, like, if you look at my screen, you'll see what I mean. Like, this chat message is just here. I could do a bunch of other stuff in here. Like, I can put other video sources on the screen. I can do, let's see, what's something I can do easily? There is, what is this clock? Oh, it's a little clock in the corner. And now you see it in OBS and you see it on the stream up there. And although it's wrong, it's in a different time zone. Interesting. I don't know why that is. But yeah, you can do whatever you want. Like, I could put a video here. I could put play back a video clip from my hard drive in OBS, and it'll show up on the ATEM Mini. So you can definitely combine them, and I like that. I like working that way better, because basically if OBS crashes or if my computer crashes, then yeah, I lose the ability to show the chat on the screen, but my video is still here and the stream is still going. So it'll just be a little bit more awkward to like control stuff. So Raul says, anybody know what the ATEM acronym stands for? I think the consensus is that it does not stand for anything. It is not actually an acronym. Peter says, sorry, I'm massively late. We'll catch up. Thanks for joining anyway. What do you use for storage of ISO files after you've recorded, NAS or cloud? Good question. I have a Synology NAS that I use to archive everything. So what I usually do is I have a 2 terabyte drive that I dump all the files for an active project. So I'll take my SD cards and the ATEM recordings or HyperDeck recording, drop everything for a project onto this drive, load, plug it into my computer, edit and resolve directly off of that drive, do the project, export the video, save that MP4 file, save the captions, the timestamps and all that. And then I take that folder for that project and I move it to my Synology NAS. And I have a couple different ones, but I'll drop this link to one of them in the chat. This is a 4-bay, which is I'm actually using the 4-bay as a backup of another NAS. So I have like a 6-bay with a bunch of 6 terabyte drives in it. And that's where all the projects end up archived. And let's see. Let's see if I can show you my folder structure here. I don't think there's any harm in doing that. Video projects archive. Yeah. So here is the folder of all my old projects. So like these are the 2019 videos, 2020 videos, all these YouTube videos, and like let's open one up. So YoloBox version 3 from 2020. You always use this convention for naming year, month, sometimes day, but usually not the day. Year, month, project name, and then this is all of the files for that project. So if I ever wanted to go back and edit, I could. I can copy this back to a drive and edit. But this will have like any of the music that I put in it or sound effects. This is the final video, and then of course the B-roll for the video and the ISO files from the ATEM that were recorded. If I did any, I was better about thumbnails. I stopped doing that. Now they're just all in a Keynote file. But the license agreement for the music also, that was before I was using Artlist. But yeah, that's how I organize them. And I'm a little bit behind on, I don't have my latest couple videos archived here. They're still on the drive that I was editing from. Adam, just email it to me. Okay. Let's see. Oh, it may have gone to my spam. We'll do that later. We're out of time. I will have to report back. I'll investigate and report back next week. Eddie says, I totally agree. I had to pay a gig and OBS was providing the program to the live stream. OBS crashed and the stream started showing the PC's wallpaper. Yeah. Yep, that is really unfortunate. There's two types of live streamers, those who have had OBS crash midstream and those that will have a crash of OBS midstream. Yep. Sorry, that's really unfortunate. Panda Agency says, I have my picture set on full HD on YouTube right now, and your stream looks great. I'm wondering what your settings are, ATEM internet camera cables to achieve the clear picture. I do not have time to go through the whole thing because we have to wrap this up because Lily's stream is starting now. But I do have a video on the channel that talks about my setup here. It is a slightly older version of the setup, but I think it got similar results. The camera for that other one was a Lumix G7. This is now the BGH1. But I think it's mostly just about the lighting and the lens. So take a look at that video, studio tour video. I'm overdue for another studio update, and we'll see if I can do that pretty soon. I got a lot of exciting things happening in here. I have an IKEA delivery arriving this afternoon. I'm gonna have to build some stuff there, so that'll be fun. We'll talk about that later. And of course, thank you all for joining. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the super chats, which is a great way to enter the giveaway for beginning of the month live stream. And yeah, we will see you again next week. And Sven, wasn't it last week where Aaron's hardware encoder crashed? Yes. Every option is flawed. The question is how quickly you can recover. And I think I did a good demonstration of recovering a stream with basically no glitches last week. So go back and watch that stream if you're curious. We are going to go redirect over to Lily's show in a second here. She is live talking about money questions. So I'll drop that link in the chat in case the redirect doesn't happen. Otherwise, I will see you all again next week, same time, same place. And yeah, have a good rest of the week. Bye.